Hey everybody, I've had some questions, so I wanted to go over our pages and let you kind of all know what I normally do in a day, and that way that might help you at home. This would be an example of a handwriting page where they're writing their letters, practicing their letters. Sometimes it's all going to just be the gray letters they're tracing, and that's fine, they're still practicing handwriting. Toward the end of the year, that's when we do a lot more work because they're ready for more work, and so that's why you got so many pages at home. But we have to be mindful that they're still little and they need breaks, otherwise you're not going to get much out of them. So keep that in mind when you're working. Some children can sit and work longer than others, but some need breaks. So for example, this is what I would do in a day. We would start with handwriting. They do have to write their name. I'm looking for letters to be on the line correctly. They're using the uppercase for their first letter, lowercase for the rest of them, and they're not going way above or below where they're supposed to be writing on the lines. Then I would have them trace the letters, and then we would start writing. Now I do a very detailed kind of, I want you to do this first and all that, especially for the first couple. Then if they want to try the others on their own, that's fine. So this is what I mean by that. Let me show you on the board. If we were going to write the letter A, I would tell them to start at the dot and do the circle. So if this is my dot, I would tell them to go up to the dotted line and go around to the pink and back to the dot. Then I would check and make sure everybody had done that, and would correct it if it wasn't. And then we need a stick that touches our circle, and I always tell them so that the A can't, the circle can't roll away. So the stick has to touch the circle, or it's just a circle and a stick, and that's not right. So for the uppercase A, I would tell them to start at the dot and do a slant line down to the pink, come back to the dot and do a slant line down to the pink, and then I tell them to do a cross on the blue dots, because I always tell him he needs a belt so his britches don't fall down. That's what I tell him. And then after we do a couple of those together, then if they wanted to try it on their own, they could. So be very intentional about what you want them to do and where you want the letter to be on the line so that they'll know how to write it correctly. Okay, so that would be our handwriting page. Now, they are able to do 2 of these. So in a day, I would do the front and the back. Now, they don't like to write their names a bazillion times a day. One little boy even told me he wished his name was Bob, so that he didn't have to write his name because it was rather long. It was longer than Bob. But so I would make them write it on the front, but they would not have to write their name on the back. And so I would do the same thing with the letter B. We would trace these, and then I would instruct them on how to do it. Start at the dot, do a straight line down to the pink line, and then he has a belly that sits from the dots to the pink line. Same thing on the uppercase. Start at the red dot, go down to the pink line, then he has a belly on the top that goes to the dotted line, and then he has a belly that goes to the pink line. So that's how I would instruct them on their handwriting. And they can do a front and a back in one day. Some of them are going to need a break after that. Some of them are ready to keep going, and that's fine. You have to base it on what your child needs, because you don't want them just sitting there and making messy work and they're bored or they don't want to do it. They need a break. If they're ready to go on, this is the next page I would do. Again, they have to write their name, look for it being neat. And then we're just going to practice reading the words. We're going to look at the picture, but then we're going to sound out the words, and they can sound these out. They know how to sound these out. It's okay if you have to help them. We start at the beginning. D says D, O says ah, together, da. G says G. And then we put it all together. dog, dog. Now, of course, they're going to say, that's what it is, that's what it is. Well, make them read the other one just in case, and then they can pick, and then they circle the one that it is. And then I would stop. After I did this page, if they did the handwriting front and back, and then they could go on and do this one, I would stop after that for sure, let them have a break. That's no more than what I would do in one sitting. On the back, sometimes you're going to find what I would do for math. A lot of times you'll find the math skills were on the back. We've already done our numbers 1 through 20. Now, that's all that we do as far as writing them and practicing writing them and everything, but we count to 100 every day. And by this time, I would break it up. One day we might do 1 through 20. The next day we might do 21 through 40. The next day, 41 through 60, and on until you get to 100. Then we practice counting by 5s. We count by 10s. If they're ready, you could count even in odd numbers. But I know for sure they could practice their 5s and 10s. So at math time, whenever you would want to do that, I would go over numbers, go over matching, let them draw the matching lines, and color. And that's what we would do after we practice counting and everything. And then sometimes you have on the back of these papers you have a ladder. So a ladder, you would just go over that with them and let them practice reading it, blending it, whatever they put on there, and then you would be done. There wouldn't be math on the back. So if there's not math on the back, you could go to the other types of pages that just have a skill. This skill is just picking out the things that are alike. So, and this is skills that they have at preschool. This is what we practice on different ones. So I would just go through, we would talk about which ones were the same, which one was different, and then they would color the ones that were alike in each row. So you can find these kinds of things. If you don't have a math that's on the back, they could still practice a skill. They could practice writing their numbers anytime that you wanted them to practice. It's the same thing. So that's typically what I would do in a day. No more than about 4 pages. Of course, we have things that you can do for art, and you can color and let them practice cutting, and they definitely need to practice cutting. We would do a lot of that at the end of the year, but nothing more than just a few pages a day. It could spread out as long as you want it to. It's totally up to you and your child. If they're better at just getting it all done, that's fine. If they're better at taking breaks, that's fine. Just do what's best for them and just kind of go over their things, their lessons with them. If they're still struggling on letters and sounds, please pull out those cards. Go over your letters, go over their sounds, because they're not ready for the rest of that. The blending and the reading will come. We focus a lot on that at the end of the year, but I don't give up on the letters and sounds, because some kids are not ready and they need that practice. So based on what your child needs, you go with that. If they're not getting all this bigger stuff like the long letter, long sneaky E's, long A's, long vowel sounds, that's okay, that'll come. We're going to practice that, but they don't have to master it. As far as the sight words, practice those every day. Sight words are not something they have to master in preschool. It's something I give them. Some are ready for it, some are not. Make flashcards out of it. If they don't know the word, tell them the word and make them repeat it. And then you're done. We're not going to sit there and cause tears and gnashing of the teeth. Just do it and move on. If they know it, great. If they don't, just practice. This is not about stressing them out. It's just to give them a head start if they need it. Well, they all need it, but it's a head start just in case they're ready for it for kindergarten. That's all that I can think of as far as questions that have come up. But if you have questions, let me know. I'll try to do another video or something, or I'll try to text you and answer your question. But I appreciate everything that y'all are doing to help the kids be ready, and y'all just let me know. Thanks so much.